Hey everyone, I'm on a 5-mile easy run this morning, but I wanted to take advantage of answering a viewer question that I had recently, that this person noticed why I don't wear headphones, listen to music, podcast when I'm on my runs, even on a long run. And before I get to any of these reasons, always realize that it's always based on your circumstances, where you live, and so on. So with that being said, the first reason would be safety. Aside from the one that I'm on, there's not that many trails that I can go and get away from traffic. And so even if I restrict myself to adjacent roads or sidewalks, I still want to know when there is traffic coming behind me or ahead of me. So far in the last few years that I have been running, I've already witnessed firsthand 3 accidents in front of me. You never know how a car might turn, might sway, or simply move. And so it would be very useful to know if there's an imminent threat when to someone's driving, their likelihood would be to avoid it. And so if it's a one-way road, which likely exists in abundance where I live, they would likely swerve towards the side of the road, which is likely where I would be. The second reason is purely a matter of preference. When I started my running journey nearly 5 years ago, and it's crazy to think 5 years ago, I started running merely to lose weight, and then I started on my marathon trip, my marathon addiction, just a little bit over 3 years ago. And at that time when I first started running, and believe me, I couldn't last more than a few minutes without getting extremely bored or needing some kind of entertainment. But over time, my preferences has changed and my fitness has improved. And to be honest, I'm not gonna say more than this because again, this is more personal preference. If your personal preference is that your fitness is at a level in which you are very satisfied and you still like to have the enjoyment of music, the sound of a podcast, or sounds into your ears, then go ahead. I'm not gonna say anything against it. The next few points will lead me mainly because of where I am and where I wanna go. My time in the distance has improved. While I'm happy by the improvement, I'm not yet satisfied with the end result. I wanna see how far I can go, how low I can go with my marathon time. At the time of this video, 2 days ago, the winner of the Great Britain Olympic Marathon Trials.
Words can't describe it. I've never had such an explosion of emotion at the end of a race like that in my entire life. It's been a bit of a heavy few weeks. I'm still feeling that emotion now.
Was a gentleman who was 39 years old. And so that gives me tons and tons of encouragement, enthusiasm, and most of all hope that there's still a chance, even for a 35-year-old person such as myself, to improve yourself and make it to a stage that you can be proud of. So over time, I left music, podcasts at home, maybe taking it out one time a month, and only simply in those cases on a very easy run, such as this conversation with you. But otherwise, I know what the goal in mind is for myself. So the next reason would be, I like to take advantage of every run that I have. Now, speed runs, intervals, tempos, thresholds, that already in itself has a purpose. And so I run in the moment to those specific outcomes. But when it comes to your easy runs and long runs, I like to take advantage of certain things to help me develop and get ready for race day. Whether you have run an in-person race this year or not, we're all scratching at the bit to have that opportunity and that chance for a race organizer to have a race available to us. So I'm running practically every day to get me ready for that opportunity. So on easy runs and long runs, I use a few tools and tricks to get me through, especially when it comes to the last few weeks when I've had to do with 15, 16, 18-mile long runs. And my wife often asks me, how do you do it? I don't know how I do it either. But when I'm doing it, when I'm in it, I'm engaged, I'm present, I'm focused on what I need to do. Reading up as much as you can about optimizing your mindset, so that way you can overcome even the toughest things. So of course you have to learn from the best, and the best in the marathon distance is none other than Eliud Kipchoge. And he's so metronomic in the way he runs, he's so efficient. You notice over time that when he's really starting to grind and things are starting to hurt, you'll often hear the commentators and even himself from time to time in various interviews that he'll often smile or give out a little bit of a grin. And it's been shown that making yourself smile, even when you're hurting so badly, can help release chemicals in your brain to take away the pain. It's very similar to when you eat chocolate or whatever your sweet indulgence would be, and it's that nice chemical that gives you that euphoric feeling of being at ease and being satisfied. So he knows all too well to use a smile, not only to good look for the camera, but then also to make sure just to last just a little bit longer. Another way I trick my mind to endure long runs is to periodically check your body. Shalane Flanagan has famously said that at times, roughly every 5 to 10K, she would do body checks, just making sure her head position is correct, her hips are in form, her arms are swinging at the proper angle, her chest is high, her legs are pumping. So try to give that a shot, that when you start feeling after a couple miles that your form is starting to deteriorate, perform some body checks along your run and identify certain issues that are changing over time as you fatigue. So when you start noticing that your arms are swinging across your chest, it's an act of inefficiency. Make sure to swing it forward and back. That if your head is starting to slump down this way, make sure to lift on high. That way your eyes are looking parallel and directly forward to the ground. Make sure to keep your hip in place so that way they're not slouching back. So that way, when the next cameraman on the course shows up, you're not looking like a caveman. Another useful tool that I've noticed is by giving yourself positive self-talk. I've done this from only at times when I truly need it, and that's when it's often the last 5 miles of a marathon. Just giving yourself something that you've often trained with, even words you must train with, to give yourself the encouragement that you can continue. Simple ones as, you can do it, I am strong, my body's a machine, just turn it on. Even personal encouragements, such as the reason why you're doing a race, doing it for someone, running it on behalf of someone. Keep reminding yourself why you're doing this. And I know, your brain is a master of tricking you into thinking, it's okay to stop. It's okay to slow down. You're running on behalf of someone. They'll be proud of you no matter what. You gotta throw that out of the way. You gotta shut that type of talk down. Control your breathing if you have to say it out loud, but make sure to continue putting in positive self-talk. So as I mentioned, I don't usually use words to encourage myself unless it's really in the grinding of the last few miles. What helps me through the good bulk of 26-mile runs, of 20 upward to 26 miles, is simply using numbers. And you might have seen where it's always easier to complete a challenge when you're chunking information or chunking a goal, which is essentially just a fancy way of saying split up the distance, right? It's only 4 10Ks, or many of you might have said it's 2 half marathons, or it's a 10-10-10. It's a 10-miler, and a 10K. All right, so for me, I don't really find that works too much, but instead I use something very similar to that, where I actually accumulate the miles in my head, so that way it makes it easier for me to complete certain segments. So for a 26-mile run, I'll count up to 16. So like, all right, so I'm gonna pretend that it's a 16-mile run. You know, the first 6 miles or so, or we have all this energy, so hardly anything to be fatigued from. So we get our first 6 miles in. So we get our 6 miles in, no problem. And then all of a sudden we have 10 miles to go in our 60-mile segment. So from there, I'm just counting down. Or if I'm at mile 14, I only have 2 miles to go. Then a mile left. And so just by telling myself that it's almost done with that segment, it gives me encouragement knowing that I'm completing something. And then once I pass mile 16, that is when I start counting down, and knowing that this is the final 10, I can count down to the true goal of completing that race. And so that's when I will start counting down from 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. And then when you finally get to 3, adrenaline starts pumping in. If the counting doesn't help me anymore at that point, that's when I'll hit that verbal mantra, the words that's telling me that I am strong, I am perseverant, I can succeed at anything that gets you through, anything that really touches you here. And then you complete it, and then you've done it. So I truly hope that the tips that I have for you to improving your mindset helps. Again, these methods may not work for you. At one point, they did not work for me, and now they do. So, as with everything else, put it into training. Consider it another aspect of your run to practice with, to train with. And this is where you can officially put it into the archive, so that way when you truly need it most, in your upcoming 5, 10, 5K, 10K, half marathon, 20 miler, marathon, that you can take it out and finish strong. So please like and subscribe to the channel. So hoping you liked everything that I had to share with you today. Please make sure to like to the video. Please share with me what works for you, verbally, non-verbally, numerically, certain strategies that you may have for overcoming these miles, because even ultra runners can have some difficulty getting through, and so they often have to build upon their very strong mindset to become stronger. And I'm hoping the strategy that I've shared work for you. All right, so that's gonna be it for now. I'm gonna try to finish up this 5-mile run, get out of this 95% humidity, head home and put my feet up. Thanks, and see you on the next one.